Good evening. This is Father Tim. It is Wednesday evening, the 14th of July, and it is our time together to resume our continuous reading of Luke. We are live on YouTube. We are shared onto Facebook. So we are live, we are accessible on both platforms. Please do take a moment to post a greeting, share a comment, let us know that you are here with us as together we read the Gospel according to St. Luke, the beloved physician, this night. Good evening, Joan. So let's take a brief look at what we've read recently in order to catch us up to speed of where we are. Know the recent past that now we build upon as we read continuous the Gospel of Luke. So we have seen time and time again Jesus engaged in acts of healing, indeed even an act of raising the dead. We have heard him proclaiming the kingdom of God. We have seen his reputation grow greatly as people are getting a new awareness of what is happening. We have seen a transition from the ministry of John to now the ministry of Jesus. We have seen Jesus engage in parables as a way to teach the crowds and the disciples, giving the disciples a little bit more than the crowds receive in these teachings. And we left off last night with the disciples and Jesus in the boat on the storm-tossed waters. And when Jesus speaks peace, and peace comes to the waters and to the sky, the disciples are left asking, who is this? As I said last night, this is a question that I think was asked far more often than the evangelists share with us as all of these stories begin to unfold. And the interesting thing is we're about to see in one person, not the question, but the answer to the question. We pick up with verse 26 of chapter 8. Jesus heals a man with a demon. And this comes right after they have just gotten off of the boat, after the sea has been calmed and the storm is no more. Then they sailed to the country of the Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. When Jesus had stepped out on land, there met him a man from the city who had demons. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he had not lived in a house, but among the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell down before him and said with a loud voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many a time it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds and be driven by the demon into the desert. Jesus then asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Legion," for many demons had entered him. And they begged him not to command them to depart into the abyss. Now a large herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him to let them enter these. So he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and drowned. Let's take that piece of this for a moment and look at this first. I'd said just a few moments ago that this is one of those moments where we have not the question, but the answer. And as is so often the case, who is it in not only Luke's gospel, but in the gospels in general, who is it that knows and says exactly who Jesus is? It's the demons. "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." See, these demons know exactly who Jesus is, and they know that he has power over them. They know that he has control of them. They name him by name. They name his ability and his power. And they seek mercy. It's always one of the odd things that we come across in the Gospels, that these are the ones who know. This man is a very troubled soul. Far more than, say, for example, Mary Magdalene, whom we discovered in Luke's gospel not that long ago. And we heard Luke refer to Jesus healing her from 7 demons. And remember that I said then even that 7 is not a literal number. It's not that she literally had 7 demons. 7 is that biblical number that speaks of a fullness, a wholeness, a multitude greater than just 7. Now, keep that in mind here then, because this man has the unfortunate experience of having Mary Magdalene beat. Because here, when Jesus asks, "What is your name?" they respond, "Legion," for many demons had entered him. Many. How many? Doesn't really matter how many. It just does matter that this is a man deeply tormented. Tormented so much so that he lives in the tombs apart from good society. There have been moments where good society attempts to control him. They bind him in chains and shackles, and there is an extraordinary strength that is in this man, possessed by this legion of demons. And he breaks the bonds again and again. The particularly odd thing about this passage that we just read is that these this legion of demons who seeks mercy from Jesus, not to be sent back to the abyss, not to be tormented. They do something here with Jesus's permission that seems extremely self-defeating. Instead of being sent back to the abyss, they have this notion of asking for permission to be allowed to enter this herd of pigs. And when Jesus gives them permission, they enter the pigs and take control of the pigs, and the whole herd rushes down the steep bank and into the lake and drowns in the lake. Then what becomes of these demons? Luke doesn't tell us, we don't know, but it certainly seems like it was a self-defeating mission to destroy the hosts that they were in. Something that they did not do to this man himself. They just provoke things even further with him. They bring around the demise of their hosts with the pigs. Now, just as with sheep, with pigs also, there were people who kept watch over the flock, swineherds, pig herders. And so they see this happen. Remember that as we read on. When the herdsmen saw what had happened, they fled and told it in the city and in the country. Then people went out to see what had happened, and they came to Jesus and found the man from whom the demons had gone, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. And those who had seen it told them how the demon-possessed man had been healed. Then all the people of the surrounding country of the Gerasenes asked him to depart from them, for they were seized with great fear. So he got into the boat and returned. The man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." And he went away, proclaiming throughout the whole city how much Jesus had done for him. Here the crowds are afraid. And if we were in their shoes, would we not be also? When they first hear of this change in this man and then they see it with their own eyes, this is a drastic change. One beyond belief. I cannot help but think that most of us, many of us, maybe even all of us, would have the same reaction. Not wanting to see it again, afraid of it, afraid of the potential of a moment like this. And it's interesting to note that Jesus does not force himself upon them. He does not force his mission upon them. They ask him to go, and he goes. But not before a final interaction with the man who has been healed. Think back not that long ago to when we read about the woman, the sinful woman who came into the house of Simon the Pharisee, where Jesus was eating a meal, and Jesus told Simon the Pharisee, Jesus got Simon the Pharisee to say it himself, that the one who is forgiven much loves much, and the one who is forgiven little loves little. The one who receives much will show great thanks and appreciation, gratitude The one who has received little will show little of that. And here this man fits that description to a T. His life has been restored. His place in society has been restored. He is a new man, a restored man. And he wishes to show his deep gratitude by following Jesus wherever Jesus goes. Jesus sends him to go home and to make known what God has done for him, to make known the change that has been made in his life, what he once was and who he is now, by the grace and with the help of God. And here again is one of those wonderful but rare moments where it is not a question of who is this man, this Jesus, but rather a bold proclamation of exactly who he is, with a right understanding. This man gets it. He truly gets it. It's him talking at this point. Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you, Jesus says. And the man went and proclaimed through the whole city how much Jesus had done for him. You see, it seems clear that in what Jesus did for this man knew that this could only be the work of God. Thus, what had been done to him was by God. It's remarkable, isn't it? So Jesus is back on the waters, goes back across the lake again with his disciples. And there is another healing moment that happens now, just outside of the boat, back on the other side of the sea. We're going to take a look at this, and we'll break this apart in pieces too, because there are two moments here and two healings. And they are connected to one another in some odd way. Now, when Jesus returned, the crowd welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him. And there came a man named Jairus, who was a ruler of the synagogue. And falling at Jesus' feet, he implored him to come to his house, for he had an only daughter, about 12 years of age, and she was dying. Note the desperation of this moment. A ruler of the synagogue, a leader, a religious leader of the synagogue. The religious leaders at this point are already suspicious of Jesus at best, not favorable of Jesus. But this one seeks Jesus out because he is in this moment of desperation. His daughter is dying. He is acting not so much as the leader of the synagogue, but as the father of a daughter who is at the verge of death. The desperation there is incredible. And Jesus receives this request and sets out to go to the leader's home. And then this second moment interrupts that travel. Let's read on. As Jesus went, the people pressed around him, and there was a woman who had a discharge of blood for 12 years, and though she had spent all her living on physicians, she could not be healed by anyone. She came up behind him and touched the fringe of his garment, and immediately her discharge of blood ceased. And Jesus said, "Who was it that touched me?" When all denied it, Peter said, "Master, the crowds surround you and are pressing in on you." But Jesus said, "Someone touched me, for I perceive that power has gone out from me." And when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him, declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him and how she had been immediately healed. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." This is an incredible interruption in the journey to Jairus's home. By this point, Jesus's reputation has gone ahead of him to such a degree that anytime he is in the public, he is surrounded by the public who want to get near him as close as they can get to him. There is a vast multitude around them, and I get a kick out of it because we get a sense of what this crowd is like when Jesus asks, "Who was it that touched me?" And Peter's response, I really think, is very much neatened up, cleaned up. I really don't think it's a matter of Peter saying to Jesus, "Master, the crowds surround you and are pressing in on you." I think the tone behind that response was probably more like, "Look around you. See how these people are mobbing over each other to get to you. How can you say, who touched me? Who didn't touch you?" And most certainly there were many others, in addition to this one woman who touched him. But she had a unique purpose. You see, she believed in her hopelessness from all of these years of her suffering that this was her moment, this was her opportunity. If she could just reach out and touch the hem of his garment, she trusted that that touch would bring her healing. And it did. Jesus calls her out, seeks to know the one who touched him that way, that he might comfort her with the awareness of what she already knows, that she is now whole and well. Her suffering is ended. It's more about this woman, but let's take a look at the next line in order to really truly understand the significance of this moment and the journey with Jairus being together. While he, Jesus, was still speaking to the woman, someone from the ruler's house came and said, "Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher anymore." I cannot help but wonder if perhaps if it wasn't for that news that the daughter has now died. If the daughter was still alive and still in need of healing, in that battle, in the inner self of this man Jairus, what wins? After Jesus has been touched by this woman with a discharge of blood for 12 years, what part wins the inner conflict? The father in desperation, or the leader of the synagogue seeking to maintain his piety, his righteousness, his faithfulness? You see, at this point now, according to the law, Jesus is unclean. He has been touched by a woman who is unclean, a woman with a discharge of blood of any type. Something drastic, severe like this that's been going on for many years, that is an illness, or even a woman's natural menstrual flow. According to the Torah, according to the law, makes her unclean and makes anything and anyone she touches unclean. So now Jesus is unclean. If the daughter of the leader of the synagogue is still in the shadow of death, on the verge of death, would Jairus accept Jesus, an unclean man, into his home? Which would make Jairus and his whole family and his house itself unclean, and thus restrict his own ability to minister in the synagogue? Would he allow this Jesus, this unclean man, to touch his daughter? I think the honest answer is probably no. The journey to Jairus' house probably ends right there. If it was not for the fact that Jairus' daughter is now dead. We never get the opportunity to hear what Jairus' reaction is to Jesus being made unclean by this woman whom he heals, either before hearing that the daughter of Jairus is dead or after. Because you see, immediately Luke tells us that Jesus responds to that news that the Father is trying to process. But on Jesus hearing this, answered him, "Do not fear, only believe, and she will be well." And when he came to the house, he allowed no one to enter with him except Peter and John and James and the father and mother of the child. All were weeping and mourning for her, but he said, "Do not weep, for she is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him, knowing that she was dead. But taking her by the hand, he called, saying, "Child, arise." And her spirit returned, and she got up at once. And he directed that something should be given her to eat. And her parents were amazed. But he charged them to tell no one what had happened. The father's desperation kicks in fully. Jesus is unclean, but now Jairus' house is unclean. a dead body. A dead body has the same effect as a bleeding body. Everything in the house is unclean. Anyone who would make contact with this dead girl, this dead body, would be unclean. And now he has nothing to lose, but everything to gain if Jesus is right. And so the journey continues. This is the first moment in Luke's gospel where we hear, by the way, that there is an elite group among the 12, Peter, John, and James. They were the only 3 of the 12 that were allowed to enter into the home with Jesus. Not because Jairus said that, but because Jesus kept them apart. Remember that, because that will come up again and again throughout the Gospel of Luke. It comes up again and again throughout the Gospels in general. When they get to the home, they are encountered by professional mourners. That's what these are. Professional mourners whose very purpose and intent was to lead the mourning of those who were in deep grief from the initial moment. Why do they laugh at Jesus when he says, "She is not dead, but sleeping"? They're professional mourners. They know a dead body when they've seen one. This is not their first go about. They know. They know well. Jesus enters the house with just Peter and John and James and Jairus and his wife. And Jesus calls her and raises her and restores her to life, restores her to her parents, and orders that they give her something to eat to strengthen her and sustain her. The last word of this seems a little odd, doesn't it? It's one of those moments where I guess I can myself channel what I think Peter must have felt in the midst of that crowd's, "Who touched you, Lord? Look all around you. Who touched you?" Jesus ordered the parents, who were amazed in this moment, that they should tell no one what had happened. How are they going to pull that off? The girl was known to be dead. It was not just a knowledge on the part of a few people. Everyone there knew she was dead. How do you explain that this girl who was dead is now alive again? Especially when the parents had been ordered, "Don't say anything. Don't explain it." I imagine that there were some who probably told these parents, "Yeah, no, you got to do better than that. You got to tell me." Did they actually listen? Did they actually not tell as Jesus directed them? We don't know. Maybe they did. I find it kind of hard to believe that they could have not done so, though. They could have not told others. think we'll leave it there for now. And we'll pick up tomorrow with the opening verses of chapter 9, especially since, that next section is short, but keep in mind what's going to happen is Jesus will send out the disciples. And then the next piece of that is, you might say, an interlude, an interruption between the sending and the returning of the apostles. And then after that interlude, the third piece of this chapter will be the report back to Jesus about what they saw. There's a lot in those three. So we'll dig into that tomorrow. If you've not done so yet, please do take a moment to post a greeting, share a comment. Let us know that you are here with us tonight. And thank you for your presence among us. Good evening, Mom. Good evening, Don and Linda. Good evening, Francis. Good evening, Lorraine. Let's pray. Creator of the universe, infinite and glorious, you give us laws to save us from our folly. Give us eyes to see your plan unfolding, your purpose emerging as the world is made. Give us courage to follow the truth, courage to go wherever you lead. Then we shall know blessings beyond our dreams. Then will your will be done. Thanks to you, Lord Jesus Christ, for all the cruel pains and insults you have borne for us, for all the many blessings you have won for us. Holy Jesus, most merciful Redeemer, friend and brother, may we know you more clearly, love you more dearly, and follow you more nearly, day by day. God of peace, be with us through this night which waits for us. Bless us if it brings us sleep. Support us if it brings us pain or anxiety, till we come once more to the morning light of another day. Amen. Lord, remember us in your kingdom and teach us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, friends, for joining us as we have continued our reading of Luke this night. We will be live tomorrow morning at 8:30. And at that hour tomorrow morning, as also on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we will pray morning prayer together. And as we have done tonight, tomorrow at 6:30, and again on Friday, we will continue our reading of the Gospel of Luke. Sunday is coming. Keep in mind that we will celebrate 2 in-person Sunday Masses for this coming Sunday, the 8th Sunday after Pentecost. 5 p.m. Saturday evening at St. Stephen's. Saturday evening, 5 p.m. at Holy Cross in the north end of Wilkes-Barre. And Sunday morning, 9:30 at St. Stephen's in downtown Wilkes-Barre. Saturday, 5 o'clock, Holy Cross. Sunday, 9:30 a.m., St. Stephen's. We will pray Compline together live here Saturday evening at 9. We will pray morning prayer together Sunday morning at 7. And also take note of the fact that the online Premier Liturgy will be made available and ready to start at 10 o'clock on Sunday. That's going to be the new practice from now through the first weekend of September. Starting it at 2 o'clock has kind of led us to a decreased audience, probably because by 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon, most of us have moved on to something else. So my thought, especially since we did this a couple weeks ago on Sunday, the 4th of July, is if this is available in the morning, there can be a greater participation, greater viewing by persons who would wish to watch it Sunday morning. Those who are in the normal practice habit of watching it Sunday afternoon can continue to do that, because since it's a premiere video, it can be viewed anytime after it premieres. So please take note of that also. Blessings to you and to yours this evening. And I look forward to being online with you again and praying with you and reading the scriptures with you. Good night.